we went through extensive childhood trauma, and her basis was all wars are based on trauma. So it's an interesting analysis. So, but apparently he was born illegitimate. He was beaten by his father. His father was Jewish. It was quite in the day to be illegitimate. It was quite traumatic, you know. And and you talk about the Aryan race. He didn't have blonde hair, blue eyes. He's half Jewish. It's just it's rather interesting. So, and then in his youth, he escaped through art. And if you noticed, every time he went in to raid the country, he'd go through art. Well, and still this day, they're returning pieces of art.
Still living.
So the story, so the issue about that was, so in his youth he applied to this really reputable art school, you know, and again he escaped through all his trauma in childhood through his art, okay? So he got rejected from the art school. It was run by Jewish people, you see. So he just, it's just one thing after another. So it's just interesting how the pain body can just completely take over and cause him a trauma throughout the whole world. And so another interesting thing about that is we always lost. And so just think what this world would be if the Nazis had won versus if they didn't. We won by the skin of our teeth, apparently, by some analyses. So I guess all that's interesting in terms of looking at the paradigm of light versus the shadow side that can rule or take over. So that just kind of...
Yeah, but this brings to my mind one story that I read, and God knows where I read it at this point, but they said that one of the fronts, that was a very decisive battle, all of a sudden the Germans stopped dead in their tracks because the beings facing them were like 20 feet tall and filled with light, and they were actually facing angelic beings that were against them, so that was kind of intriguing.
Well, it's fantastic because apparently Hitler used metaphysics, but in a dark ways.
Right.
And a whole team of them. So, anyway, so where does that lead us here? Well, first I want to start by, this would be a bit of a different meditation. Just grounding here. So I am going to lead the meditation, but I'm also putting my brother in the circle, who I crossed over to the light at 2 o'clock this morning.
And we also did get a request for distance healing for someone, and her name is Vicky. So I am going to ask that we keep her in the circle, and I think what I'd like to do right now first is that we put our intentions in the circle first before we start. Is that okay? All right. And we'll go clockwise. I'll start, and then Kira will finish. Okay. I put in to the circle Jones family, the Sweeney family, the Zarnopoulos family, my son, my daughter, my niece Monica and her new baby, Wanda and Joe, the Rays of Healing Ministry, Wajena, Susan Withy, Mary Jane Banks, and anyone who's having personal challenges for health reasons, psychological reasons, financial reasons.
I'd like to put in my grandmother and my grandmother, my brother and his new wife, Brittany, my entire family, Andrew, Wanda and Joe, and everyone here.
I ask for healing for Gaia and for everything that is, everything that has been, and everything that will be.
myself, my wife, my parents, my brother, and my two friends that are both off in separated places from where I am in Maryland.
George and Mitzi and my friend Chris Lee, and my family, my roommates, especially Stephen, and Ways of Healing Ministry.
Would ask for the world peace and healing for the entire universe.
I put my friends in, Michelle, Anne-Marie, and Ralph. I hope that they get over their anger problems.
Myself, Dee Dee, Carol Rose Duane, Joanna Cone, Javier Lurero, and all the flocks of waterfowl that I've taken care of over the years who have moved on to other geographic places in their life, and I am concerned about if they're doing well, so I put all of them and their journeys into their new lives.
Robert Bragman, Agatha Francis, Bonnie Trudeau, my brother, Clay Williams, and anyone who is feeling great psychological pain.
Jill, Nick, Teresa, Don, Jerry, Joy, my dogs, and all the animals.
For all those in position of power or influence, for those who are suffering from the illusion of separation and victimhood, to place the entire consciousness of mankind, the planet, animal, and plant.
I'm bringing myself with intention to return to full balance.
Tim Mollismonine, Sarah Ducty, Wayne Stover, the Franco family, the Alvis family, the Marcus family, and myself.
I pray for healing for myself and especially my brother and others who are going through similar problems.
I put in my dear brother, Edward Strong, passed away at 3 o'clock today. So, to give a bit of an introduction before we start this meditation, one thing I want to focus on in the beginning is a healing on all of us in our hearts, because I've been working with the ascension process for about, very, very vigorously for 9 years and longer than that. And the Spirit would just direct me to do all these things on the land in order to clear portals and cross spirits over and liberate souls that were held in containment. So I remember this one time I was going to go to Israel. Some of us have been there at Grado de Lourdes, and I had gone there before I went to Israel, and I went to Grado de Lourdes, which is like Mother Mary and the Christ energy, and then I went to the Camp David Museum, because Camp David is right near there, and I always had this experience when I went to this place that I was like in the natural history Museum, if you ever saw that movie where it all comes to life, that's what happened to me when I went in. Like, JFK started talking to me, and the first time we went in there, and they all keep the animation talking to me. I was like, wow. So there's a thing called the Peace Council, and Wanda's very familiar with the Peace Council. And these are people that have died rather horrific deaths while they're working for peace. So there's like John Lennon, Mahatma Gandhi, Rabin, Sadat, JFK, Martin Luther King, the list goes on and on. So, I mean, various of them have come and talked to me, and so when I was there that day before I was going to Israel, I mean, Rabin and Sadat were there because it was very interesting. It's like those pictures, the peace treaties, they're all signed at Camp David with the presidents. And so they were showing me that, and then they took me into like the Dead Sea Scrolls and said I knew about the Dead Sea Scrolls and to tune in because they were very important to bring what I knew about them because I wrote some of them, they said, and so on, and tune into it when I was in Israel and so on. But it was interesting how that issue of peace came forward, and John Lennon had once told me like they died violent deaths because they were very passionate about peace, but at the same time they had anger and rage within their heart. And they're saying, if you don't have that, then that's not going to be your outcome. And they gave the Dalai Lama as an example, for example. So having peace within your heart is very important. So I think what I like is for healing, for all of us, to start with, is having peace within our hearts. And let's see, what else could I? So I could go on and on. I mean, this would be a whole lecture in terms of the ascension work and working with those clearing processes. So I'm not going to do that, but I will tell you that recently, last year, it was Cinco de Mayo. I was at this healing center in Manhattan. I never expected this to be in New York City because I have my prejudices about New York City, but I this healing center, and I had this tremendous vision and healings going on in the center, and one of them was I was sitting in the King of Chambers, and I was shot up to source and shot back down, and the pyramids and the Sphinx carry all this coding, and the Orion constellation is right above it, and so is this star Sirius, which is 8.3 light years away from us. And so as I'm coming down, Sirius comes within me and says, ask me to hold her in the center of the earth. I'm like, okay, and it's really rough. It's like this heavy voltage I'm staying in the middle of the earth, holding her. And she's saying like the female energy, is coming to liberate this earth. And it's not men against women or anything. It's like we all have male and female energy, and really it's like that mother nurturing type of energy. As some of you know, I do a lot of work with Madame Rita Mahi, who is from India and carries that divine mother energy. So, which I think is very needed on this planet right now. So anyway, that was my beginning. So recently, Sirius came in and had me hold her, and as I was holding her and I'm spinning in this Merkaba, I was staying in the middle of the earth. I mean, there's this great source of light emanating, and it was doing a lot of clearing. And so you have Mother Earth circulating with Sirius, and what was emerging was this crystalline energy. He told me it was Tara, the fallen star of the fifth dimension, that's coming back from the third dimensional aspects, because it was like a fallen star due to negative energies. And I felt along the lines while I've been doing this work, like in the movie, like The Matrix and Indiana Jones and Harry Potter, and it's just been unreal some of the things I've gone through. So, but it's all about just bringing light to this planet and bringing it to a higher vibration of love and peace. And so what I would show with Sirius is it holds the Christ consciousness in the fifth and sixth dimension, the grid of the Christ. And so I was holding that, and like I said, so the emergence, was tar, and there was this real clearing. And I feel like then all of a sudden, you know, it emerges to the surface, and you have all this ripple effect of what's going on in the Middle East, because they had me like send light to different parts of the planet, and certainly a lot of it went to the Middle East. And so so after I was doing that, a friend of mine called me in the midst of it, because she had come over. I said, could you bring me some crystals of protection while I was doing this work? And so she came over, and she's very psychic. She's one of the most high vibrational people I've ever met. And she goes, why do you need these things? You just cleared 2.5 million souls. You just liberated them that were held in containment with you circling this light. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. So she calls me later, like 10 days later, and she's like, I've had this passion. I've just been thinking about you for days, and I have to come over to your clinic. Do you think I need an injection? And I smiled, like, why would you think this great heart vibrating passion to come in for an injection? I don't think you want an injection. I do these vitamin mineral injections. I'm in integrative medicine, so I just like laughing. I don't think so. And she goes, well, I think it's spiritual. I was laughing harder, and I said, yeah, I think so. And she goes, I keep getting this gem. And so then I saw in my third eye, oh, I think this is what you're talking about. So over the years, I've had these interactions with the Dalai Lama, and so I knew that I was supposed to be in 2010 at the Horizon Center and had this 11-day prayer of the Kala Chakra, which means light. And most of my friends were going like the 4th day on, because he was starting to give this discourse on it. But I'm like, okay guys, it was the first 3 days, that's the chanting, that's very important. So I was there, and it was like this huge center, and there's like practically nobody there except the monks on stage chanting, and then the Tibetans chanting, and I'm up with a friend in the balcony, and I hear the Dalai Lama come down to work. So I come down, and I'm trying to mimic the way they're chanting, and they're doing the prostrating and everything. He's like, no, your light works. So I'm like, oh, okay, so there's this whole big seats, they're totally empty, so I go and I try to look inconspicuous as I'm going out to the cosmos and bringing light, and I just shot it all over to Tibet. And so I was crying for about 30 minutes with the experience I had, because this concave like jewel came out of Tibet. It emerged out of Tibet, and it had like these hexagonal figures all over the concave, and it was like this emerald green, like this jade. And then it emerged from my heart. And it was like such a profound love. Like the only time I've experienced such a profound love was when Christ has come within me and opened my heart. I mean, it was so profound. I just cried for 30 minutes. It was so profound. So when my friend Janine's talking about it, I said, I explained the story, and she goes, oh yeah, that's opening the universal heart chakra. It's a liberation. It's opening the universal. I said, oh, okay. I said, well,
So simple,
I think that's what it's about. So she goes, I think you should come on Wednesday. Okay, come on Wednesday. So we have this time slot out in Abacane, actually. That was a great ceremony, wasn't it? Yeah. So you want to?
No,
yeah, okay.
continue.
Okay. So it turned out like it was like these keys that we held inside energetically, that when we turned, it liberated and opened that energy space. So Janine and I had keys, and then Eva, and then Alma came in and opened the last one. So so anyway, what that was is opening the universal heart chakra, and it's kind of an integration of the Buddha consciousness and the Christ consciousness, because you need peace as well as love, because if you have love and it's imbalanced, it's not a good thing. So to have harmony and balance with love is peace. So you have that integration of the two. Basically, so that's the work that's come in, I believe, to bring the earth to a higher consciousness, as well as open the hearts of all of humanity to a higher dimension of love and peace. So they get it within their being, It's not just talking, it's within their being. So that's kind of my introduction. So what we're going to do is just close our eyes and put our feet down on the ground and sit up straight. And we're just going to call in the light beings that are working with us, which is the Christ, the Dalai Lama, Mata Amitabha Mahi is here as well, all the archangels. Archangel Michael comes very strongly, Archangel Metatron. And as we breathe in, we're just going to breathe in that frequency of Om. And Om means resistance, and it's actually clearing resistance within us. And then breathing in the Om, and then breathing out Ma for the Divine Feminine. So on the breath in, Om, on the breath out, Ma. You can do that just. And just going within our hearts, opening the triple flame, the lotus of our hearts, in light and love. I'm asking for our hearts to be healed as we go into the first chamber of our hearts, and Archangel Michael is there to remove the spears of pain, of suffering, of torment, of betrayal. And then just letting light infuse into those areas that are being healed with the Christ energy, the Buddhic energies, going to the space of love and peace within ourselves. And going into the second chamber of our hearts, where there's contracts and agreements, and transmuting with Saint Germain, the purple flame, those that are of fear. And transmuting them into love, and then the agreements and contracts that we carry that are of love, to embrace those and go to our infinite potential, the light. And as we go into the third chamber, we are in a state of enlightenment, of joy, of peace, of love, of light. whether it be in a garden or the ocean, with the lake, with the birds, with the trees, being one with nature, being one with the cosmos, being one with all, and being at a space of our enlightenment, and being at our center in peace and love and light. And as we go into the fourth chamber, there is a gift or gifts that come about to enhance the healing of our heart, to enhance our heart's potential, opening up the universal heart chakra within us, and being of oneness, of light, of love, peace. And as there are many light beings here, just very open to letting the work come through you, into your heart, and aligning with your entire core and being. Connecting into the center of Mother Earth, of Tara, of Sirius, being one with that Christ grid and one with the Buddhist grid in our hearts, being one with this energy as the beat of our heart